Is Walt Disney becoming the real life version of the movie Get Out?
But it's cool. Bro, how you not scared of this, man?
Good to see another brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
Well, let's talk about it. There have been a lot of things going on at the Walt Disney Corporation recently. A lot of things. And they are very strange. You have three people that are not fans of the Walt Disney Corporation. And let me pause right here. I refuse to call it the Walt Disney Company anymore because it's not. It is now Bob Iger Inc. Okay? This is not the Walt Disney Company that I grew up listening to, that I grew up with, that my oldest child grew up with. This is not the Walt Disney Company. This is Bob Iger Inc. And let me tell you about Bob Iger Inc. Over the last couple of weeks, different things have happened with people that, what's the best way to say this? People that did not toe the Bob Iger Inc. line are now doing so. Let me show you my first example. Bo DeMayo. There's a lot in the paper about him. He's been released. He was the showrunner for X-Men 97. No longer that. Different things going on with him. None of that has to do with the point I'm about to make. So let's go here. Bo DeMayo showed up on our radars with this article. Remember this as it pertained to the failure of The Witcher on Netflix. The headline, Netflix The Witcher, former producer claims some writers actively dislike the books and games. This was posted October 24th, 2022. I give you these dates because they're gonna be very, very important to the point I'm trying to make. It says, Bo DeMayo, a former producer and writer on The Witcher, has claimed that some writers on the Netflix series actively disliked Andrzej Sapkowski's books and CD Projekt Red's games. As reported by The Direct, DeMayo recently participated in a Q&A on his Instagram stories, where he discussed his role as showrunner on the upcoming X-Men 97 Disney Plus series. This is what he had to say. I've been on a show, namely Witcher, where some of the writers were not or actively disliked the books and games, even actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom, as a litmus test, checks egos and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you are allowed to add to its legacy. Now, when you hear that, you have a bit of confidence, hope.
What is it they've sent us?
Hope.
About one of those beloved IPs from the 90s, from when you were growing up. One of those shows that is very iconic. And X-Men, the animated series, was that show. So when you hear the showrunner speak like that, you know you're going to get a show that is true to the show that went off the air decades ago. You know this. You're going to get that show.
Not so fast, my friend.
Check this out. Headline, X-Men 97 executive producer Bo DeMayo reveals series story is informed by his experience as a black gay man.
Huh?
That was published March 22nd, 2023. Now, what in the hell happened in, 4 months? For that much of a drastic change to happen. And when I say it's a drastic change, check out what he says in the interview now. Now, remember what he said about being true to the source material and respecting the legacy before you're able to add to it. Now check his story. As part of this discussion, DeMayo said, he came up with a pitch it to Kevin Feige, and him and Brad Winderbaum could not have been more supportive and also encouraging to make sure we got it right. I think one of my favorite parts was like they were truly interested in like what my experience as a black gay man was and how it was going to inform the story we were telling. And that to them was like, that is how we're going to make this authentic.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.
So, the show that I grew up loving in the 90s, that X-Men cartoon, was written by a gay black man? And it was seen through the lens of a gay black man?
What the hell are you talking about?
But it's amazing that even though he was pegged to be the showrunner of X-Men 97, it seemed like once he got started on it, he's been transformed.
No.
Because there's nothing about the first article that I read you that would make you think that it was the same person speaking in the second article I read you. Nothing. There was nothing about those things that will make you think that those two individuals are alike.
Zero. Not even a one.
Now let's go on to the second piece of, is this the real life Get Out? I give to you Abigail Disney and the rest of the Disney descendants. Yes, that Disney. It was just last year, this article. Years ago, Abigail Disney, the granddaughter of Walt Disney Company co-founder Roy O. Disney, published a scathing op-ed in the Washington Post where she called out CEO Bob Iger for the naked indecency of his nearly $70 million salary. That's what Abigail said years ago in the op-ed in the Washington Post. Let's make it a little bit more recent. As much as last year in the Rolling Stone. When asked if Bob Iger was the right person to lead the company with her name on it, she refused to answer the question. Instead, she said that no matter how she responded to the question, it would haunt her on Google for the rest of her life. The Disney heiress and Iger probably won't hang out together anytime soon, especially not on his private jet. Now that was just last year. Now, this is a person who on two separate occasions has blasted him. Op-ed in the Washington Post, scathing interview in the Rolling Stone. Well, how does she feel now?
A good question. Let's find out.
February 29th. Family of Walt Disney supports Bob Iger and company's proxy fight with hedge fund-backed opportunists. Quoting what she said in this, from Mickey and Minnie to Snow White and Mary Poppins, Disney is not a company that makes widgets, it makes magic, wrote Roy P. Disney, Susan Disney Lord, Tim Disney, and Abigail Disney, who in this article points out has been outspokenly critical of the company in the past. They continue to say in their unified statement, and it takes a special group of leaders with a deep respect and understanding for this tradition to develop the kinds of incredible experience, whether in a theme park, at a movie theater, or in your home, that touches people's hearts. Bob Iger, his management team, and the board of directors are faithful to this magic.
Bitch, please.
In less than a year, again, less than a year, you're now singing the praises of a company you just blasted last summer. They added, We're old enough to remember the bitter episode from 4 decades ago when another corporate raider, Saul Steinberg, who, as it happens, was good friends with one of the current activists, Nelson Peltz, launched a hostile takeover attempt at Disney and threatened to break apart the company. He was defeated, much as these activists must be defeated today.
This bitch can't be serious.
So the same company you blasted is the same company you now want to support because they're not going to make the changes. They're not. My thing is, where in the hell is all this change of heart coming from? I'm telling y'all, Get Out the movie is real, and it's at Disney.
How bad can it be?
But let me give you a third and final piece to this. George Lucas, the man who gave us Star Wars. George Lucas, as recently as 2021, and the headline reads, George Lucas lost control of Star Wars, according to a recent interview, seemingly slams Disney's take on the franchise. Reading, the father of Star Wars also opened up about why he and Disney were split on their decision for the franchise's future. They looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. They decided they didn't want to use those stories, the stories that he provided. They decided they were going to do their own thing. They weren't that keen to have me involved anyway. But if I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do. And I don't have the control to do that anymore. And all I would do is muck everything up. And so I said, okay, I will go my way and I'll let them go their way. Does that seem like a man who's pleased with the way Bob Iger Inc. has been handling his IP?
Hell no, to the no.
Doesn't look that way to me. But let's check out another example. Headline, George Lucas felt upset and betrayed when Disney wouldn't use his ideas for the new Star Wars trilogy. Published September 24th, 2019. Now they're going to quote Bob Iger himself in his memoir, in the book he wrote that's called I Don't Give a Damn. In Bob Iger's own words, in his memoir, this is what he said. At some point in the process, George told me that he had completed outlines for 3 new movies. He agreed to send us 3 copies of the outlines. One for me, one for General Counsel, and one for co-chair and chief creative officer. Alan Horn, who's the co-chair creative officer, and I read George's outlines and decided we needed to buy them, though we made it clear in the purchase agreement that we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot lines he laid out. Okay, it's yours now, so you can do what you want to do. But check this out, as again, Bob Iger himself states in his memoir. Later, Iger, Lucas, screenwriter Michael Ardent, and Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy had a meeting at Skywalker Ranch to talk about their ideas for the film. Quoting Bob Iger, George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot, and it dawned on him that we weren't using one of the stories he submitted during the negotiations. The truth was, Kathy, JJ, Alan, and I had discussed the direction in which the saga should go, and we all agreed that it wasn't what George had outlined. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything, but he thought that our buying the story treatments was a tacit promise that we'd follow them, and he was disappointed that his story was being disregarded. I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way, and I didn't think I had now, but I could have handled it better. I should have prepared him for the meeting with JJ and Michael and told him about our conversations. Does this sound like a man who is pleased with Bob Iger Inc.? No, it doesn't.
Not even a little.
But then we get this. On March 19th, 2024, headline, George Lucas says he has full faith and confidence and Disney CEO Bob Iger amid proxy fight.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Not cool at all.
A company that took your children, well, let me take that back. A company that you sold your beloved IP to, that has completely bastardized it to the point where you referred to Disney as white slavers.
These are my kids. So
All those Star Wars films.
all the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are right. You know, I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
And
sell
you
them
sold
off.
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and.
Okay, but
And now all of a sudden, you have full faith and confidence.
I think I can smell shite.
In a statement, George Lucas said, "Creating magic is not for amateurs. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership."
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
The same leadership that pretty much stabbed you in the back, and at the very least just simply treated you with disrespect when it came to your story and how they told you that they weren't going to do it. You called them white slavers. You showed no sign of having any confidence in this company, and now all of a sudden you do?
Well, that's definitely shite.
Now, the reason I threw Bo DeMayo in that, even though he has nothing to do with the proxy fight, is the point I'm trying to make here. I have no idea what Disney has on these individuals or what Disney has promised them. But for three publicly, consistently, people who differ with the Bob Iger Inc. ideology to suddenly change their tune, well, I'm just going to tell you like this.
Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, 3 times is enemy action.
Disney is on some shit. Now, to be fair, right before I recorded this video, I saw another video from a channel I follow. I encourage all of you to follow as well, Valiant Renegade, who actually draws a much more clear and logical picture as to why George Lucas' statement and his support came out when it did and the way it did. Go watch his latest video about it's titled George Lucas Update. It makes a lot of sense. But either way, Disney is somehow, it's like a fucking infection. It gets in you and corrupts you and changes you. They're able to somehow coerce you to their side, even when I believe you have no desire to be. This company, Bob Iger Inc., is truly evil. They've already killed Walt Disney. They've killed the Walt Disney Company. There is no saving it. There was destroying Bob Iger Inc. and starting over. And that's what I personally hope Nelson Peltz does. Because he can't restore the magic. The magic has been corrupted and is gone. It's time to make new. Well, that's all I got for you at this time, y'all. Catch me on the next one. Be sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this one. Share the word. Agree, disagree. Let's have a conversation and talk about things, right? This is your man, Big Brother Tucker, reminding you, as always, to stand up, stand out, think differently. Holla.